says we are at stage 7, paragraph page 540. Okay, and
yes.
last headword was relative clauses, new word type of lesson.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
so
Correct.
let's start with revision. Ready?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. First question. What's another word we can use instead of put? What's another word we can use instead of put? Another word
Another
we
word
can use instead of
we
put
can use
is lay.
instead of put is lay.
Well, what are the three forms of lay? What are the three forms of lay? The three forms
The
of
three
lay
forms
are
of
lay,
lays
laid, laid,
are laid.
laid. So true.
Ah,
Lay, laid, laid.
lay.
Very good. What did I lay on the table at the beginning of the lesson? What did I lay on the table at the beginning of the lesson? You laid your books
You
on
laid
the
your
table
books on the
at the
table
beginning of the lesson.
at the beginning of the lesson.
Right. About how many times a year do most birds lay their eggs? About how many times a year do most birds lay their eggs? Most birds lay
Most
their
birds
eggs
lay the eggs
once a year.
once a year.
Where who lays the table in your house? Who lays the table in your house? I
My wife
lays the table
lays the
in
table
my
on
house.
my in my house.
Very good. Do you think it's possible for a person to go through his entire life without telling a single lie? Do you think it's possible for a person to go through his entire life without telling a single lie? No, I don't think
No, I
it's
don't think
possible
it's
for a
possible
person to
for
go
a
through
person
his
to go through
entire life
his entire life
without telling a single
without
lie.
telling a single lie.
Why not? Why not? Because every now
Because
and again,
every now and
it may
again
be necessary
it may be
to
necessary
tell a small
to
lie
tell a small lie.
about how wide is a single bed. About how wide is a single bed? A single bed
A single
is
bed
about 3 feet
is
wide.
about 3 feet wide,
3 feet wide.
3 feet wide.
When traveling, is it usually cheaper to buy two single tickets or a return ticket? When traveling, is it usually cheaper to buy two single tickets or a return ticket? When traveling,
When
it's
traveling,
usually cheaper
it's
to
usually
buy
cheaper to
a
buy
return ticket.
a return ticket.
Very good. What are the three forms of fight? What are the three forms of fight? The three
The
forms of
three
fight
forms of fight
are fight,
are
fought,
fight,
fought.
fought.
What countries has your country fought against in the past? What countries has your country fought against in the past? My country
My
has fought
country
against
has fought against USA in the
in the
past.
past. Very good. Give me an example of the construction make plus object plus adjective. Give me an example of the construction make plus object plus adjective. Work makes us tired.
Work makes us tired.
Tired. Give me an example of the construction keep plus object plus adjective. Give me an example of the construction keep plus object plus adjective, please. Exercise
Exercise
keeps you healthy.
keeps you healthy.
Very good. Which would you rather look after for a week, a baby or a horse? Which would you rather look after for a week, a baby or a horse? I'd rather look
I'd rather
after
look after a baby
for a week
for
than a
a
horse.
week than a horse.
Very good. Why? Why? Because
Because it's necessary to take care a baby because so we are not sure they what will they do.
that's correct. You have to look after them. Yeah, we don't know how to
Yeah.
take care of a horse though. Okay, next.
Yes. So
Why is that children so often don't know how to behave themselves when there are no adults to watch over them? Why is it that children so often don't know how to behave themselves when there are no adults to watch over them? I think the reason
I think the
children
reason
are so often
children
don't
are
know
so often
how
don't
to
know
behave
how to
themselves
behave
when
themselves
there are no adults
when there are
to
no
watch
adults
over them
to watch
is
over
that
them.
they don't know
It's that
the
they don't
difference
know
between right
the
and
difference
wrong. Right and
between
wrong.
right and wrong.
Well, what happens to children who behave badly? What happens to children who behave badly? Children who behave
Children
badly
who behave
are
badly
sometimes tend to
sometimes tend to
bed early by their parents.
bed early by their parents.
Very good. Are people usually on their best behavior during job interviews? Are people usually on their best behavior during job interviews? Yes. People are
Yes,
usually
people
on
are
their best
usually
behavior
on their best behavior
during job interviews.
during job interviews.
Where if you were walking home late at night and saw a man trying to break into a shop, would you inform the police? If you were walking home late at night and saw a man trying to break into a shop, would you inform the police? Yes or no?
Yes,
If
if
if I were walking
I were walking
home late at
home
night
late at night
and I saw a man
and I saw a
trying
man
to break into a
trying
shop,
to break into a shop,
I'd inform the police.
I'd inform
The
police,
police.
the police.
Very good. If you are carrying some heavy shopping bags and someone offered to carry one for you, what could you say? If you were carrying some heavy shopping bags and someone offered to carry one for you, what could you say? If I were carrying
If I were
some
carrying
heavy shopping
some
bags
heavy shopping
and
bags
someone offered
and someone
to
offered
carry one for me,
to carry one for
I could
me,
say thank you.
I could say thank you.
That's very kind of you.
That's very kind of you.
Very good. If one behaves with kindness to another person, does that person usually return the kindness? If one behaves with kindness to another person, does that person usually return the kindness? Yes. If one
Yes,
behaves
if one
with
behaves
kindness to
with
another person,
kindness to another
that
person,
person usually
does that person usually
return the kindness.
return the kindness?
Very good. Okay. Give me first a negative and then a positive answer to the following question. Okay, here we go. Number one. Is it far from there to the next town? Is it far from there to the next town? No, it isn't
No,
far
it
from here
isn't far from
to the
here
next town.
to the next town.
Yes, it's a long way
Yes,
from
it's
here
a long way
to
from
the next
here
town.
to the next town.
Very good. Did you walk very far yesterday? Did you walk very far yesterday? No, I didn't walk
No, I didn't
very
walk
far yesterday.
very far yesterday.
Yes, I walked a
Yes,
long
I
way
walked a long way
yesterday.
yesterday.
Very good. Give me an example of the expression too far. Give me an example of the expression too far, please. It's too far
It's
to
too
walk to
far
the station.
to walk to the
Let's
station.
get a taxi.
Let's get a taxi.
Very good. When do we generally use the word distance instead of far? When do we generally use the word distant instead of far? We generally
We
use
generally
the
use
word distant
the word distant
instead of far
instead of
as
far
an adjective
as an adjective
before a noun.
before a noun.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I could see some
I
sheep
could see some
in
sheep
a distant field.
in a distant field.
Field. Very good. Do you have any distant relations living in another country? Do you have any distant relations living in another country? Yes or no?
Yes,
I
yes,
have
I have
some distant
any
relations
some distant relations
living in another country.
living in another country.
Where if you could look into the far distant future, what would you like to see there for yourself and for the world generally? If you could look into the far distant future, what did you like to see there for yourself and for the world generally? If I could look
If I could
into the
look
far distant
into
future,
the far distant future,
I'd like to see
I'd
happiness
like to see
for
happiness
myself
for
and for
myself
the world
and for
generally.
the world generally.
Very good. If you had a choice of being born in any period throughout history, which period would you have chosen? If you had a choice of being born in any period throughout history, which period would you have chosen? If I
If
had a
I
choice
had the
of
choice
being born
of being
in any
born
period
in any period
throughout history,
throughout
I'd
history,
have chosen
I'd have chosen.
which period?
Uh, I'd
Like
I'd yeah. So I'd have chosen uh
like the modern period, the
playing
Jurassic period,
uh,
like that.
yeah. So I have chosen playing the guitar, playing the swimming, and learning English when
Good.
I was a child.
Okay, childhood period. Very good.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Why?
because my parent should have a choice for me.
Chosen for me
Yes, chosen for me. So so
so that you
so
can play it
they
now.
they thought, yeah,
Uh-huh.
so they thought that children should have a choice. Their
Of what they want.
なんだ yes,
Of
yes,
what they
what
want.
they want yet.
Very well. It's not too late. You can still learn to play it now. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone throughout the entire winter without catching a single cold? Have you ever gone throughout the entire winter without catching a single cold? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've
yes, I've
sometimes gone
sometimes times gone
throughout the entire winter
throughout the entire winter
without catching a single cold.
without catching a single cold.
Greg, do you believe that people are all more or less the same throughout the world? Or do you believe there are real basic differences? Do you believe that people are all more or less the same throughout the world? Or do you believe there are real basic differences? Yes or no?
Yes,
I believe that
I
people
believe that
are
people
all more or
are
less
all more or
the
less
same
the
throughout the world.
same throughout the world.
Very good. What do we mean by a government official? What do we mean by a government official? By a government
By
official,
a government
we mean
official,
someone
we mean
who works
someone
for the government,
who works for the government,
usually with a certain
usually
amount
with
of
a
power.
certain amount of power.
What do we mean by the official language of a country? What do we mean by the official language of a country? By the official
By
language
the official
of a country,
language of a
we
country,
mean the language
we mean the
that is
language
used by the
that is
government
used by the
and
government
in schools
and in
in
schools
countries where a
in
number
countries
of
where
different
a number
languages
of
are
different
spoken.
languages are spoken.
Right? Would you like to be a priest? Would you like to be a priest? Yes or no?
No,
I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
like
like
to
to
be
be a
priest.
priest.
Why not? Why not? Because
Because if I were priest, I couldn't eat any fish and meat and uh, do not communicate to woman.
that's correct, absolutely. So I
Yes,
wouldn't
yeah,
like to be a priest
yeah,
also.
yeah.
Very good. Next, what do we mean when we say that some people don't practice what they preach? What do we mean when we say that some people don't practice what they preach? When we say that
We
some
say, I think
people
we say that some
don't
people
practice what they
don't
preach,
practice what they
we
preach.
mean that they
We
give
mean that
advice to
they
other
give
people
advice to other people
about what is right,
about what is
but
right,
they don't follow this
but they
advice
don't follow this
themselves.
advice themselves.
Very good. Which countries does the United Kingdom include? Which countries does the United Kingdom include? The United Kingdom
The United
includes
Kingdom
England,
includes
Northern
England,
Ireland,
Northern Ireland,
Scotland, and Wales.
Scotland, and Wales.
What is a kingdom? What is a kingdom? A kingdom is a
A
country
kingdom is
which
a
has a
country
king or a
which
queen
has a king or a queen
as its head.
as its head.
Very good. Are there any pretty flowers growing outside your building? Are there any pretty flowers growing outside your building? Yes or no?
Yes,
There
there
are
are
some
some
pretty flowers
pretty
growing
flowers
outside my building.
growing outside my building.
Where if you only got 5 hours sleep tonight, would you feel pretty tired tomorrow morning? If you only got 5 hours sleep tonight, would you feel pretty tired tomorrow morning? Yes. If I only
Yes,
got
if I
five
only got
hours sleep
5
tonight,
hours sleep tonight,
I'd feel pretty tired
I feel pretty tired
tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
Wait, what does the idiom hang on mean? What does the idiom hang on mean? The idiom
The
hang
idiom
on means
hang
wait.
on means wait.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. Hang on a minute.
Hang on a
I think
minute.
I have his
I think I
address
have
in
his
my book
address
somewhere.
in my book somewhere.
Very good. What is a relative clause? What is a relative clause? A relative clause
A relative
is a clause
clause is a
that we
clause
use to
that we
describe a
use
noun.
to describe a noun.
Very good. Okay, that's the end of our revision. Very good. Let's
Yeah.
continue this new work. Very good. Okay, so listen. We put a relative clause immediately after a noun it describes, and it usually starts with a word like who, which, or that. We call the words who, which, or that the relative pronouns. For example, in the sentence, here is my house, which I love very much. The relative pronoun relates, which relates to my house. So the clause which I love so much means I love my house very much. Okay, let's practice. Where do we put a relative clause? Where do we put a relative clause? We put a
We
relative
put
clause
a relative clause
immediately after the noun
immediately after the
it
noun
describes.
it describes.
What do we call the words who, which, and that? What do we call the words who, which, and that? We call the words
We call the
who,
word
which, and
who,
that
which, and that
relative pronouns.
relative pronouns.
Very good. Okay, next listen. The difference between who, which, and that is that we use the relative pronoun who when we're speaking about people. We use which when we're speaking about things and animals. But we use that for people, things, and animals for everything. Okay, let's practice. What's the difference between who, which, and that? What's the difference between who, which, and that? The difference between
The difference
who,
between
which, and that
who, which,
is
and
that
that
we use
is
who
that we use
for
who
people,
or people
for people,
or people,
which for things and animals,
which for things and
and
animals,
that for
and
people,
that
things,
for
and
people,
animals.
things and animals.
Very good. Give me a sentence with a relative clause in it. Give me a sentence with a relative clause in it, please. I know a man
I know
who
a man
lives in that
who
street.
lives in that street.
The film that I
The
saw
film that
yesterday
I saw
was great.
yesterday was great.
Very good. Okay, now I will say two sentences and I want you to join them together using a relative clause, using who, which, or that. Okay, here we go. Yesterday I saw a film. The film lasted 3 hours. Yesterday I saw a film. The film
Yesterday
lasted for three
uh,
hours. Yesterday I saw a
yesterday
film
I saw a three film that
lasted for 3 hours.
lasted for
For
three
3 hours.
hours.
Very good. Mary has a friend. Her friend lives on a boat. Mary has a friend. Her friend lives on a boat. Mary has a friend.
Mary has a friend
Lives on a boat.
who lives on a boat.
Very good. I am reading a book. My mother gave me the book. I am reading a book. My mother gave me the book. I am reading a book.
I am reading a book which
My mother gave
my
me.
mother gave me.
Very good. The waiter dropped a tray. He was carrying the tray. The waiter dropped a tray. He was carrying the tray. The waiter
The
dropped the
waiter
tray
dropped a tray which
he was
he
carrying.
was carrying.
Very good. Thanks a bit. Proper.
Proper
Player.
player
Side.
side
Doorway.
doorway.
Very good. Okay, listen. Side is a noun. For example, left side, right side, side A, side B, team A, team B. Player is a noun. A player is a person who plays a sport or game. For example, there are 11 players on each side of a game of football. So each side means each team. Proper is an adjective. Proper means exactly correct. For example, the proper number of players on each side for a game of football is 11. Doorway is a noun. Doorway means a space in front of a door. So this is the doorway. Okay, for example, the cat went through the doorway of the main door. Let's practice. What is the proper number of players on each side for a game of football? What is the proper number of players on each side for a game of football? The proper number
The
of
proper
players
number
on
of
each
players
side
on each
for a
side
game of
for a
football
game of
is
football
11.
is 11.
Is it considered improper behavior in your country for a man to go through a doorway in front of a woman? Is it considered improper behavior in your country for a man to go through a doorway in front of a woman? Yes or no?
Yes,
It's
yes, it's
considered
considered
improper behavior
improper
in my
behavior
country
in
for
my
a man
country
to go
for a man
through a
to
doorway
go through a
in
doorway
front of a woman.
in front of a woman.
Very good. Now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, so our reading is at stage 6, paragraph page 481. Last headword was CD. Okay, please start reading at page 482. Produce.
82
Or,
produce. Okay, okay,
uh-huh.
produce.
Okay.
What does your country produce? My country produces car and semiconductor. Uh, boast. What kind of things do people often
Boast.
boast
Boast
about?
about.
Boast about. People often boast about their jobs, things that they own, etc. Necessity is wearing a tie a necessity for some occupations these days. Yes, wearing a tie a necessity for some occupations these days. Tell, say. The most important difference between tell and say is that after tell, we indicate that person we are speaking to, but after a say, we usually do not. For example, I told David that I was going on holiday. I said that I was going on holiday. What's the most important difference between tell and say? The most important difference between tell and say is that after tell, we indicate the person we are speaking to, but after say, we usually do not. Give me an example, please. She told him that it was important. She said it was important. After the verb say, it is impossible to indicate the person we are speaking to by using the word to. For example, I said to David that I was going on holiday. After the verb tell, however, we don't use to. After the verb say, how is it possible to indicate the person we are speaking to? After the verb say, it's possible to indicate the person we are speaking to by using the word to. With direct speech, we normally use the verb say and not tell. For example, he said, I will see you tomorrow. For direct speech, which verb do we normally use, say or tell? For direct speech, we normally use the verb say. Give me an example, please. She said, I'm hungry. With indirect speech, we can use either say or tell, but we must use tell to report an order, not say. For example, he told me to go downstairs. Which of these sentences is correct? He told me to go away, or he said me to go away. The first sentence, he told me to go away, is correct. Rise. What are the three forms of rise? The
One
three
more.
forms
Uh,
rise
reason.
are reason.
Reason. Very good.
Listen, what are the three forms of rights? The three forms of rights are rights, laws, reason. Have you ever risen before the sun has risen? Yes, I've sometimes
Reason.
risen before the sun has
Reason.
risen.
Very good. Okay, so we